Let's do that.
Okay.
Car,
Super SEVA.
We're still on the,
Super SEVA.
yeah, yeah.
All right, so we're recording.
Yeah,
If
let's
anybody
do it right
objects,
before that.
let us know.
no, I haven't.
Looks like he's playing the old man in our town.
Yes, yes.
Oyez, all persons having business before this august body draw near you will be heard. The Honorable J. Conway presiding. All rise. All set. Mr. President, the floor is yours.
All right, good evening, people. Glad to see you here on this dark and dreary evening. Yes, Mr. Lowe?
Well, the question for the floor is, how is our old caller doing? And
Looking old.
Take that.
He's fresh off of his off Broadway of our town, and I think he's still in character.
I was rehearsing for the show, and I managed to hurt myself. And I said I'm just going to power through this because we don't have any understudies.
Well, I can add to that. I powered through that same thing from July to the present with my left and right knee.
Point of order, his injury has the floor.
Yes, we should sit together.
It'll get better, and it got worse. So I went to see the doctor, and now you're all caught up.
All right. Well, speaking of caught up, do we have a new face or two in the room?
Hi.
I thought you weren't coming if alcohol wasn't being served.
This is not my wife.
Oh, social distancing then, please. But stand and be recognized.
I'm a new boat owner.
Ah.
Yeah.
Congratulations. Is this your first CVK?
Yes.
Oh, welcome.
But my neighborhood is full of Teslas, so I had to get something different.
Well, we're here to answer all your questions, so please feel free to, we'll have networking and a chance to really find out what you need to know. Yeah.
An appropriate response to peer pressure, join in a slightly different way. All right. And that's all the new blood we've got tonight? Oh, yes, sir. I will introduce our guest speaker, Joe, in a bit. But all the way up from Portland, Joe Gruber. Yes, sir.
I'm Dean. I'm a friend of Tim and Dave's here, and hear a lot about them, but don't own one yet myself. Figure out how to learn about it.
We can fix that.
We're working on it.
Good. I thought you had been here before. You look awfully familiar to me.
Great. All right.
All right. Well, speaking of newness, the state has a new Electric Vehicle Coordinating Council. Several SEVA members, including Grace and myself, had applied amongst the 100 plus applicants, and 25 were selected, not including us. Anyone in the room get on there? Yes, sir?
I had the paperwork sent to me and stuff, and I was going to fill it out, but the requirements were so crazy.
Was gonna don't even count in horseshoes.
It was just nuts.
Yes, and it looks like it'll be a lot of work, but
Hey, are you here for the EV meeting? Yes. Come on in.
please come on in. So
Find a seat.
I sat through that initial meeting, which is to be the sounding board / brain trust for spending NEVI money and other state initiatives, and they purposely excluded anybody who was actively employed in the industry with a particular manufacturer or something, so very thin on knowledge and experience and thick on the community activist side, though not the SEVA community activists. We are being represented by the lobbyists for AAA. Yeah, and there was also the, in my humble first impression, heavy on the, I live in an apartment and don't have a driver's license, but if I was going to have a car, it would be electric, though I haven't driven one yet, and here's how you guys ought to live. So we may need to provide boisterous public input to that process as it evolves.
We actually did get one member on And Jeremy Smithson of Puget Sound Solar
Yes.
is going to be, so he can hopefully help speak for us,
Yeah.
which is great.
So Jeremy has been appointed?
Yes.
Yes, and Jeremy has actually officially stepped back from Puget Sound Solar / EV support. That makes me nervous because last time he stepped back, he fell off a ladder and broke something. A career on roofs in fall protection gear, and he steps off a stepladder at his house. That's the way it works. But yes, we have an ally in Jeremy, and we'll call upon him liberally. Speaking of the state, we have a number of pending bills, and Grace has prepared a policy update.
Actually, not very many at this point. There's only 2 that I have come across so far, and so if anybody knows of any more, I'd be very interested in hearing about them. But let me just go see if I can find it here because I had it right in front of me. Yeah, you noticed that too, did you?
Oh, Senator Fortunato still, still doing his shit?
Let's see. Oh my God. Let's see if I can find my list. I know. I just sent it out.
Jeremy Smithson is still part owner of Puget Sound Solar.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So step back in terms of not being on site.
Yeah. Good question. I'd like to learn more too.
Grace has the floor. Pay no attention.
Yeah, I know. I'm going for it. I know I've got it here somewhere. But no. Jeez. Okay. I know. I've got it somewhere here too. So it's just a matter of where I put it.
I got it here.
Senate Sunday. Oh, thank you. That'll help. Hey, good. Yeah, the first one is House Bill 1183. This is prohibiting Washington from adopting California's vehicle emission standards. As you probably know, California has the strictest vehicle emission standards in the country, and that's one of the things that drives the adoption of electric vehicles. California was allowed to do that back in the old days, and other states are allowed to adopt their standards. And so Washington signed on as a ZEV state, a zero emission vehicle state. And now we have, see now, I don't know how to turn it back on. Sorry, Paul, thanks anyway. It's dead. But the representative who introduced it, I think it's Representative Dye, who's a Republican, apparently wants to not. Is that still D-I-E? It's D-Y-E, but
Take
there we
mine.
go. Okay, let's see if I can keep this one alive. And
It's set to 5-minute timeout.
yeah, it's Representative Dye.
But don't believe anything.
So
Iowa
apparently
says.
he is trying to do away with the fact that we have adopted the ZEV standard and that we're going to be a place that, you know, not just for compliance cars, but people will have to bring electric vehicles here for us to help adopt more EVs. And so this is really not good news. I mean, we knew that there was opposition out there, but now he's actually introduced a bill. Because the Democrats are in power in both houses, I really don't see that it's likely to go anywhere. But if indeed it does get a hearing, we're going to want to turn out in large numbers to talk about how ridiculous this is, and we just can't go backward at this point. That is not what we want to do. I do expect, though, that we can see some big support from car dealers, and the car dealer lobby in the state is extremely strong. We've had terrible times trying to get past them getting independent manufacturers to be able to sell cars in the state, which we still don't have. They still have not allowed that to happen. So I'm going to keep watch on that and see if we actually get a hearing on that one.
But Grace, I see Rivians every day. Where do they come from?
I know. They buy them online and then they get delivered to your house.
That's very strange. I want to go to a dealership.
But they can service them now. So there's a service center in Bellevue for Rivians. Yeah.
So you're saying
they can put in a service center, they just can't put in a dealership or a sales office. Yeah.
Seems like a moot point.
Want a Rivian, you gotta order it online.
it works for me.
But that's where we're really important, because those vehicles that are not allowed to be sold in the state, such as Polestars and the other one, the three-wheel one, the exact Aptera and Arcimoto. Yep, absolutely.
And don't forget the Elio.
And the Elio and a bunch of them are not going to be able to be sold in the state. So if we have members who have one who they can show at an event, we can act as the salespeople. Steve, what was that?
Yes, my neighbor will, obviously because of our geographic location to each other, he's been hearing about electric cars ever since 1980.
Bless it so.
And he's charting for a plug-in hybrid. And he says, well, the Kia or maybe the Niro or is not available in the state of Washington. And chatting with some people at Drive Electric Washington, they said, I think it's a dealer problem. But you were saying it's still in the courts in the state of Washington in regulations.
No, that's not it. Kia Niro they're a dealer.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not just a manufacturer wanting to sell independently on their own. Kia has dealers in Washington, so they can sell through the dealers.
There's no longer California-only models. We get those cars. There's just an overall shortage right now.
Yeah.
It's basically where Kia wants to send those cars, but since we're a ZEV state, the thing is that there's an all-electric Niro now too. So they're probably finding there's a bigger market for that in Washington than for the plug-in hybrid.
Yeah. Point of information for Emeritus's neighbor. The Kia Niro had the best battery range of hybrids in 2022 model year. In 2023 model year, that will be the Prius Prime.
Oh.
Yeah, it's been up from 25 to 40.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
For Toyota, that is a huge leap
I thought so.
Yes.
I thought so. Yeah.
Yes. 40. Wow. Speaking of hybrids, that is the next bill, which is Senate Bill 5092. And 5092. This one,
you're on my phone, so I can't tell. But
this one sounds really good. It says it would expand the sales and use tax exemption to include hybrid electric and gasoline vehicles. So, as you know, right now, the partial sales tax exemption applies to battery electric cars and plug-in electric hybrids. It does not apply to Priuses, for instance, that don't plug in. This bill would apply it to all of those cars out there that say they're a hybrid, so they have a little bit of battery power.
Gas power.
Yeah.
It sounds like that applies to any car.
No, it's not. It's electric.
Traditional
hybrid
hybrids.
cars that run on electricity and gasoline is what it means.
Oh, I thought that last thing said in gasoline
It's
cars.
badly written, shall we say. I just quoted what was the bill title, but it's badly written if you go and read it. So, no, it would not apply to solely gas cars. But as you know, there's not a whole lot of solely gas cars on the road anymore. Most of them are at least partially hybrid. So this one was introduced by Senator King, another Republican, who wants to, I think, do away with all tax credits for electric vehicles. And he's doing it this way because...
Well, it's supposed to be poison filled?
Yeah, exactly. Because I think he's probably going to argue it's not fair that some hybrids get it and other hybrids don't, which you could argue that. Democrats, the governor have come out against it because of the fact that it would take precious dollars that should be used for battery electric vehicles and spreading them out to a lot of vehicles which are not going to make a big difference for climate change. So I'm kind of inclined to say, yeah, that's probably the case, is we should save our precious dollars for vehicles that are really making a difference. Don't know if this one is going to come to a hearing at all, because it sounds like, Democrats are in power and they're pretty much non-opposed to it. So it may not even come to a hearing. I don't know. But the fact that it's been put out there and it has a really nice sounding title to it. Oh, everybody gets a tax credit. That's great. I'm thinking that it might get some traction. We'll see. Don't know. Anyway, stay tuned. Let me know if you hear of any other bills coming up that we need to track and keep track of. Jeff knows something. Jeff.
I saw a national call yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
Come up to the front of it.
Can you use the mic? Yeah, I know. Good. National policy call with Jeff Finn, our policy master here.
That's good, that's good.
Yeah, Director of Policy for Plug-in America and some other people, and the federal government is currently making regulations and guidelines for implementing the recent bill that passed now.
The Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah, they have provisions for the rebate, and that when these guidelines are issued, a lot more of the vehicles will not qualify. So the recommendation was, if you're thinking about buying an electric vehicle, get it done before March 1st, if there's any supply available. That's the bottom line.
Well, just like the end of the year deadline, would not a paid reservation suffice?
No, actually, they were saying that if you had a valid contract in place, that would work.
Yeah, the contract versus reservation.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
They did. The manufacturers did that last fall. A whole lot of them.
Yep.
And then legislation passed. Anyway, that was my
Okay.
addition.
Mr. Yormar.
So the last version of All You Know, they were mentioning what Jeff was just talking about the guidelines. The guidelines, there's a dispute now about the Tesla Model Y qualifying for the $80,000 discount as a SUV. Okay, so anyway, from that YouTube video, they said there was an email address that you could write to basically voice and justify why these things should be determined the way they are.
You talking about the Jesse and Zach's show?
Yeah, All You Know.
Yes, I saw that.
You see
And
that?
I'll second that motion.
Yeah, so anyway,
Gee.
you can, I'm sorry, I can't give you but you can send an email to
Well, please post it to the list.
Yeah, Mark, if you happen to have or be able to find
I'll
that
find it,
email
I'll find it.
address,
Sure,
just
sure.
send it to me and I'll put it in the
I think
minutes.
I
Okay.
Yeah,
posted
that'd be
to the
great.
public list the email that I sent to that address with a link to the page where it says, click this to send a form, and then it says, oh, there's no form.
Yeah.
You have to send an email with this in the subject line.
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah, that, okay, you saw
Yeah.
the same thing I did.
Yeah.
Okay, all
So
right.
and that's the same thing, and so my best understanding of the new IRA credits is $10,500 split in half. The first half is for assembly of the vehicle in North America or trademark. The second half is based on the production of the battery pack and the material for the battery pack, half and half for that half, which that's the part that they're putting off until March. So it doesn't matter where the batteries are made, you just get it as long as it's the manufacturing or the assembly
For the
qualifies
next
the vehicle.
month and a half, yes.
For the next month and a half until they decide what the rules are on the battery side of things. As far as what qualifies and don't, sedans qualify if they cost less than $55,000, which is a big change from the previous clean car regulation, which had no price cap, I believe.
Right.
The second price cap is for trucks and SUVs, less than $80,000, and that gets into the whole truck thing, which is part of the email that I posted on what qualifies as a truck.
And there's also an income limit now, so
And
not
there's
everybody
also an income
qualifies.
limit of $150,000 per single or twice that for married. Is there
The
any
good thing is
other
that there's Plug-in America is hosting a Zoom webinar on this very topic on Thursday morning, and I'm gonna go be part of that. If anybody else wants to get in on that, the Plug in America, you just have to register online, so just go to their website. Yeah, and hopefully that will give us a little bit more clarity about where we are now, although we know the guidelines and rules are gonna be evolving at this point.
Isn't that just really just sort of the way manufacturers have mutated the identity of a sport utility vehicle? It used to just be like a Tahoe or a Suburban, you know, a full body on a truck frame. That was a sport utility vehicle. Then, of course, it all got mutated around.
That's right. Manufacturers have changed what they are offering based on what their customers are demanding. They want an SUV, but they don't need that much space and they don't want to pay that much money, so they're making them smaller. That's right. Do they? Where do you draw the line? Some people say the Bolt is an EV, you know, or an SUV. Jeff, go ahead.
On the call yesterday, there was a lot of conversation about the rules and guidelines being written, and you can be assured if you're signed up on the Plug America website to get an action alert when there's something positive that we can do to affect a good set of guidelines and rules.
That's right, the Plug in America action list. Make sure you get on that.
That'd be the best way to approach it.
And I'm gonna send along anything I get from them too, so I'll pass it along.
What has a web page that specifically states what cars qualify for?
Mm-hmm.
And I put that link on our Facebook page.
Yeah.
So it's there, and it's constantly being updated.
Exactly. Perfect.
Okay.
That's great, and we should put that on our website too, Brian. But we'll write up a little article and include that.
One more.
If there's anyone who's going to be buying a car this year with electric, raise your hand. If there's anyone who will be buying a car this year that is a 100% electric.
This year?
This year.
How about last year?
Show some hands. You're buying an EV this year. Yes.
I am. So I've been checking into this. Now, I've already bought 3 electrics, and I got my $7,500 rebate. And this is applied for the years before. You can get a check from the IRS. This year they've changed it, where if you have a tax liability greater than $7,500, you can get credit for it. But if you have a tax liability of $3,000, they will only give you a credit of $3,000 towards your new SUV. Your new EV.
Yeah, it's actually been that way the whole time.
That's the way it's always been.
Yeah.
Tax credit.
That's the way it's always been.
But I've actually received the full $7,500 for my first 3 electrics.
So you have that much liability.
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Okay.
So there is another change that won't take effect until next year, that the new rebate, you'll be able to get at a dealership, only at a dealership, up front, as a credit on the MSRP. That's not kicking in until next year. So of course, we gotta figure out all those stuff.
And the one that was to take place already January 1st is the the tax credit on used EVs. But the used EV dealer that I've been in communication with still doesn't have precise instructions on how to do it, and it's income qualified. So you'll have to be in the lower end of the used EV market in order to qualify. Yes, sir.
Is it a tax credit or a tax rebate?
It's not a credit.
The federal one is a tax credit.
Federal tax credit, yes.
So that's gonna be in the spring of 2024.
That's when the rebate will become available.
No, but that's when you're gonna file your 2023
Right, yes.
tax return.
Yeah, unless you're a small business and you can immediately reduce your withholdings. Estimated payments. One last thing, Steve.
I thought it was always right off the top of the sale.
Never.
No, never. There was a Washington State sales tax.
Yeah.
Sales tax exemption. Mhm.
Yes. Does it have a cap?
9.8% off the top, and it's capped at
Well, it's $20,000 right now for a new car and $15,000 for a used car. It means that you only get a sales tax exemption on the first $20,000 value of the car that you're buying.
Okay, but there's no cap? I need to go talk to my dealer.
There is a cap. Yeah, it's $45,000.
Oh, okay.
I know. A cap for the price. Yeah,
Right.
that's what you meant. Okay.
Yeah.
I got that twice.
Clear as mud. On from the dry, cold topic of taxes to some hot topics.
Yeah.
Because it's the winter of our potential discontent. When we try to drive our older, lower range EVs around in the cold, we need some supplemental heating sometimes.